Hey friends, it's Kathryn from Poughkeepsie Farm Project, and I'm at home today because this week for Poughkeepsie Food Power at Home, we're going to talk about starting your very own container garden to get growing your own food at home. And we're going to go over different options for inside and outside. It's simple to get started. It doesn't take up a lot of space or time, and you can still grow all of your favorite fruits, veggies, flowers, and a lot of different herbs you might want to grow too. Alright, so our very first step is to pick a container that you want to grow your plants in. So you'll need to decide on the size that you want, and you can do everything from these tiny microgreens up to larger plants like squash, tomatoes, cucumbers. You can either go out and get a pot of some sort or the large fabric grow bags like I'm going to show you that I have my kale in. Or you can use something you already have. So a lot of people use buckets. These microgreens are in a takeout container. You can use the plastic pints or quarts that you get berries in. You do want to make sure there's some holes drilled for drainage, but I've even seen people use the sturdier fabric tote bags that we use for grocery shopping in, and I've seen people use plastic storage totes, so you have a lot of options. Just get creative. So we're going to talk about things you can grow indoors, but I wanted to share a few of what I'm growing outside to inspire you, hopefully. And these are a few different strawberry plants that I've had for a few years, and they overwinter, and then they bloom, and these beautiful flowers will turn into strawberries pretty soon. Next to that, I've got a few different kale plants that I planted from seed in the fall. They came back this spring after the snow melted, and I've been harvesting the greens, and now they're starting to flower as well. And in this last one, I have some carrots that I planted in a video a few weeks ago that you can go watch, and they are beginning to germinate just now because of the cold temperatures, but you can do plenty of root vegetables in these as long as you pick the right size. So let's see what's next. So step 2 is to pick a nice sunny spot to put your container. And containers are easier to move around, which is great, but a sunny windowsill will work for most of those smaller varieties, microgreens, baby greens, herbs, or you can find a sunny balcony, porch, or other outdoor area for a larger container. So the other supplies you'll need, which would be step 3, would be potting soil, and I'll show you how it's different. Some organic fertilizers that you can safely add. And I have a few pictured here. Blood meal, bone meal, fish emulsion, or seaweed fertilizer are all popular ones. Whichever fertilizer you pick, you'll just want to follow the directions on the bottle or bag for your plant. You also may want a trellis to support your plant, like the cucumbers in this picture. Other than cucumbers, you would want to trellis just about anything that climbs or grows like a vine. So pole beans, peas, squash, tomatoes, all can be trellised, and we will do another video in a couple weeks that shows you different options for trellising your vegetables. So what is potting soil? This is a visual of potting soil versus regular garden soil that I dug up, and the main thing with potting soil is you want something that's light and airy so that it drains well. And so it's going to be a mix. Usually they have some perlite, some compost for nutrition, and then some kind of peat or sphagnum moss. In our next video, we're going to talk more about transplanting. So that's when you have a seedling that maybe you get from a nursery or a farm, or when you start seeds indoors for things that take longer to grow, like these peppers that I started inside this year. So besides transplanting, your other option is to direct sow seeds. So taking your seed packet and putting those seeds directly into the soil in your container. And that's going to be the best option for faster growing things like microgreens, baby salad greens, as well as a lot of other plants with sensitive root systems. So most of your root veggies like carrots, onions, radishes, and then things like cucumbers and squash and melons don't transplant well. So you would put all of those into your container with direct sowing of seeds. So for direct sowing something like microgreens, you're going to do a layer on top. They can touch a little bit, you just don't want them all gathered in one place. And that would be how you would direct sow those. with most other things, you're going to check your seed package, and it's going to tell you two important things. Your seed depth, which would be 1 inch for these peas, and your spacing, which would be 3 inches per plant or 8 inches per row. And I'm using pea seeds as an example because they're very easy to see what you're doing with them. So if I was going to try to direct sow peas into a small container, I would make a hole about 1 inch deep with my finger, and then I would plant a couple pea seeds depending how old your seeds are. Sometimes people do up to 3 in one hole for good germination. And you know, I've guessed about 3 inches apart here. Normally I would not actually recommend planting peas in something this small. But then you just cover your seeds, tamp down the soil, and then you would water and make sure you keep them moist until they germinate. Then it's time to get planting. So I've got an overview of good choices for small indoor containers and the larger outdoor ones. We have a whole nother video on microgreens, and baby greens use basically the same technique. We'll be talking more about transplanting for herbs like cilantro or rosemary. And your outdoor container options really extend far beyond this list, but these are some of the easier ones to get started with. Once everything's planted, you just want to make sure you keep up with watering your plants. So check the soil every day. Remember that smaller pots do dry out faster. And if you think watering is going to be difficult for you, you can look around for these self-watering containers or try to make one yourself. And we can't forget the last step, to harvest that yummy food and enjoy your garden and feel proud that you took the first step in growing your own food. So hopefully I've shown you that starting a container garden is pretty simple. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's a great way to get extra food growing in your home. So I hope you'll join me next time. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and thanks for learning with me today.